You know, it's pretty amazing when you think about it, how an ancient book can stick around for thousands of years and still pop up in our world today. Some texts are like that. They don't just get read, they kind of become part of the air we breathe. They shape the words we use, a lot of the time without us even knowing it. To show you what I mean, let's kick things off with a little puzzle.
So I want you to take a look at these phrases coming up. You've probably heard them, maybe even used them, but what's the one thing they all have in common? What's the hidden connection here?
Okay, here we go. An eye for an eye, the writing on the wall, a wolf in sheep's clothing, and of course, you reap what you sow. So what's the answer? Well, they all come straight out of the Bible. And what's really wild is how these phrases are just part of our language now. People from all walks of life use them, a lot of times with no clue where they came from. But this goes so much deeper than just a few cool sayings. See, to really get this, we have to zoom out from just the individual words and look at the whole big picture. The Bible's real power, its most lasting influence, isn't just a list of idioms. It's the story structure itself, this core narrative. Almost like a blueprint that has shaped how we think for centuries. And that's the key, right? The Bible isn't just a collection of rules or wise sayings. It does something really different. It frames all of history, all of existence, as one big, single story. It has a beginning, a middle with a huge conflict, and it's all heading in a specific direction. It's this story's structure that gives events a sense of meaning, a purpose. And this right here is basically that blueprint laid out. You can think of it like a giant 3-act play for everything. Act 1 is order, a world created to be good with a real purpose. Then, boom, Act 2, conflict. Something breaks, a rupture happens, and that brings struggle and chaos into the mix. But, and this is crucial, it doesn't just end in chaos. Act 3 is all about hope, this belief that the story is moving forward towards some kind of restoration, some kind of resolution. Order, conflict, hope. That simple arc, it's the engine driving so much of the language we use. Okay, so the big question is, how does a massive cosmic story like that jump off the page and land right in our everyday chats? Well, the answer is all about metaphors. This huge narrative created these really powerful images that just happen to be perfect for talking about what it means to be human. This chart just lays it out so clearly. Take sowing and reaping. It starts as a simple farming idea, right? But it becomes this powerful metaphor for actions and consequences. You reap what you sow. Or think about the whole idea of a cosmic battle between good and evil. That gives us all our language about light and darkness. The idea of life being a journey on a specific path, that's where we get concepts like being led astray. And the scapegoat, that was a literal ancient ritual that's now become our go-to word for blaming someone else for our own issues. And this is really the heart of the matter. These aren't just fancy ways of saying things. They're basically mental models, frameworks for how we understand the world. Every time you talk about a beacon of hope or seeing the light, you're plugging right back into that ancient story of conflict and hope. These metaphors give us a shared toolbox of words to discuss really big things, like morality, justice, and our own personal struggles. All right, so let's zoom out even further, because this story blueprint doesn't just hang out in our personal conversations. It actually structures our public life, especially our politics. And it does this whether we're religious or not. I mean, listen to this. We face a great struggle, a moment of crisis, but we hold on to the hope that we can build a more just nation for our children. Sound familiar? Of course it does. You've heard some version of this from pretty much every politician out there. It's a classic formula. First, you name the crisis. That's the conflict. Then you point to a better future. That's the hope. It's the exact same 3-act play, just on a national stage. And look, that's not by accident. This is an incredibly powerful way to talk because it taps into a story that's been baked into our culture for centuries. It takes super complex, messy political problems and frames them in this simple, emotionally powerful story of struggle and redemption. It just works. This narrative also gave us a pretty radical idea, especially for the ancient world, that no one's power is absolute. The story is full of these figures, these prophets, who walk right up to kings and tell them they're messing up, that they have to answer to a higher moral law. And that idea, the idea that even the person at the very top is accountable to justice, that became a cornerstone for how we think about limiting the power of our leaders today. But here's where things get really interesting, and frankly, a little complicated. This story blueprint is like a two-sided coin. Throughout history, as the sources show, it's been used in completely opposite ways. On one side, people have used it to say, see, the current system is right and just, our leaders are legitimate. But on the other side, people have used that exact same story, with its language of justice and freedom, to fuel revolutions and fight for radical change. It's this incredible tool that can be used to both prop up the status quo and tear it down. So this brings us to the final question, really. Why? Why does this ancient blueprint still echo so loudly today, even in a world that's, a lot more secular? What's its secret? What gives it that kind of staying power? I absolutely love this quote from one of the sources because I think it just nails it. The Bible is not just a book, but an architecture of ideas. That's it right there. It's not just about the stories themselves, it's about the structure they provide. It's a framework we've used to build so much of our culture, our laws, and our politics. And at the end of the day, I think its real power comes down to how relatable it is. That simple arc, order, conflict, hope. It's a perfect template for our own lives, isn't it? We understand our own stories that way. We start somewhere stable, we hit roadblocks and struggles, and we're always pushing towards something better. This huge cosmic story gives us a way to make sense of our own smaller ones. So it seems this ancient text has really become a part of our cultural DNA, an invisible blueprint that shapes our words and our stories in ways we don't even notice most of the time. And that just leaves us with one last, really interesting question to chew on. If this is one of those invisible blueprints, what are the others? What other big stories, maybe from science or mythology or philosophy, are quietly shaping how you and I think and speak every single day?